take down all our guarded fences, take our history, make it all repeat. Through all our hesitations, sugarcoat our reservations, whatever we need to make our history repeat. Hourglass like quicksand, I had nothing but wasteland. It's empty where you should stand. Let's just go back to all we had, back to picture postcards, back to fate left to the stars, and looked away when things were hard. I know that we said we're far past repair, but what if I said I don't even care? Let's just be nice, we'll sort out the rest. I'd rather have with you here. So let's forget all of our senses, take down all our guarded fences, take our history, make it all repeat. For all our hesitations, sugarcoat our reservations, whatever we need to make our history repeat.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for joining us on the Thursday Night Hockey Show. I am Dave Valente and joined this week, as always, by Mr. Travis Aurednik. How you doing, sir?
Doing good, Dave. How are you?
Doing well, man. So there's been a lot of happening in the last week in the world of hockey, and
There's been a lot of unhappening in the past week.
this is true. Yes, very much so.
There's not a lot going on. There's a lot not going on. So
Yeah, exactly. We'll start with the subject I spent a lot of time last week, which was the World Junior Hockey Championship, and really what the IIHF has done in the last week have made a lot of people mad. I'm going to tell you that right now.
yeah, a
Yeah,
lot.
so it started out the World Junior Hockey Championship started on Sunday evening. While I was doing my other show, I was watching the U.S. defeat Slovakia 3-1 I'm sorry, 3-2 in the first round game, first game of their title defense.
It was an
Canada,
impressive try.
yeah.
I didn't
Canada,
expect Slovakia to come out like that. So
yeah, Chromiak, the guy that scored both of their goals, is a pretty good prospect coming up for. I'm trying to remember who drafted him, but maybe it's Vegas. Anyway, yeah, he's a stud, and really did well in that game. Canada won their first game. Owen Power, Buffalo Sabres first round draft pick, got the first overall draft pick as well. Got a hat trick in that game. His first ever overall in his entire career hat trick, which is amazing to think of. So
that's a pretty good debut.
yeah, exactly. And then the Canadians got a second game this time against Austria, which is were my team that was going to be the favorite to be relegated. And dropped an 11th spot on them. And Connor Bedard, which is a 16-year-old, scored 4 goals. First 16-year-old to score a hat trick in Canadian World Junior history since Wayne Gretzky did it back in 1977. So if you're doing something,
not a big deal.
yeah, doing something Gretzky did, it's pretty good, not bad. But things started to unravel. Game day 2, the U.S. was supposed to take on Turco, and it turned out 2 players on the U.S. team tested positive for COVID, and due to these really weird rules by the IIHF, the game was forfeited just by a couple positive tests. Not like the NHL where it's like got to have 5 before they even consider calling a contest, and then they don't even call it. It's just rescheduled. Yeah, I get that it's a short tournament, but it seems rather harsh that they did it like that. So the U.S. had to forfeit their second game. The Czech Republic had to forfeit their second game. I believe that was against Austria. And later that afternoon, the IIHF called off the tournament. My suspicion is that Canada,
this is after they wouldn't even allow the women's to play.
Yeah, and that was the big controversy going into the tournament. Was the day that they were launching the tournament, the IIHF canceled all the tournaments in January. That's including men's Division 1B, Division B, Division C games that were going to take place in January. And they'd already announced that they weren't. They were going to allow France, who had the Division 1A group winner, they were going to be promoted to the top division of the World Juniors next year. They had announced in conjunction with this that they would just go with an 11-team tournament, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. They might bring up Latvia, who finished second, to make a 12-team tournament next year, but they announced that they weren't going to do relegation.
If there's a tournament next year, man, this stuff's just getting worse.
Yeah. So one of the tournaments that they got rid of was the World Women's Under 18 tournament. And this is the second year in a row that they've done that. And doing it on the day that they opened up the World Junior tournament was very bad timing. I mean, because it smacks of a double standard that, the women are too dainty and must be protected from the COVID, but we'll go ahead and let the boys have all the money and all the exposure. I will say that decision was 100% financial. The women's tournament probably would not have made a profit for the IHF, and it would probably been far more expensive for them to run under COVID protocols. They're already getting nipped with the World Junior Tournament, which was operating at half capacity. Plus, you're losing games. Um,
Yeah, I feel like I don't know, man. If you're gonna bring it, you have to bring it up for the whole class.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. I mean, it's not a good reason. It was a financial decision. They could have come out and said, "Hey, it's substantially more money for us to run this tournament because it doesn't have the exposure. We'd like to get it more exposure and be able to give an equal footing to women athletes." And they could have gone after sponsors to sponsor that tournament. Women's
I feel like
wear,
yeah, right now, if you
athletic
were a
stuff.
sponsor that got in on it early and you were like the main sponsor for the women's
Oh yeah,
tournament, and then as soon as they canceled it, you wouldn't have had to pay any money because there were no games. And
yeah,
just be like, man, we were locked in for like $3 million trying to support these girls, and our company really needs your support
yep,
because we were trying so hard. Just the decision on behalf of Nike or Under Armour or whoever could have got in on it.
yeah.
They could
No,
have made so much off of this. This is like a Taylor Swift re-releasing all of her music
yeah,
situation. This is insane that nobody actually was able to cash in on it. But
exactly.
people want to see women's hockey. They need to watch women's hockey.
And you know what? I'll tell you what. There are a handful of women's sports that are just as entertaining as the men's sports. That
I
I
think
enjoy.
women's hockey is more entertaining.
Because it's at least. I mean, with women's hockey, it's very entertaining when it's the U.S. versus Canada. And that's the problem that women's hockey has had is it's been so heavily dominated by the U.S. and Canada. Every once in a while, you might see a Swedish team do something, but really, it's generally kind of a two-horse race. Um, but that's the thing about these tournaments is that it allows teams like Finland, Germany, Russia to get more exposure in the international arena to play these games, to be able to increase their competition, to be able to compete with the United States and Canada.
I mean, my appeal for women's hockey is usually your goaltenders are smaller and your forwards are just as fast as the NHL.
Yeah,
So usually the games are a lot more high scoring, which, I mean, I like to watch goals get scored. It
and
makes it
people
more
don't,
entertaining.
and people don't think that they're just as fast, but remember that Kendall
Oh,
Schofield,
dude, they're just as fast.
she won the fastest skater competition at the All-Star game a couple years ago.
The only reason that they wouldn't be as fast is because you literally are not watching them.
Yeah.
If you never watch women's hockey to know how fast they are, then you're just not going to, if you get on YouTube and watch some of the highlight reels of Team Canada from the last Winter Olympics, the women's,
Yeah.
it's nuts. And
Yeah.
and the goaltenders aren't as good as NHL goaltenders. I mean,
there are some really good ones. So Nora Ratu of Finland.
Yeah, but as far as like a collective goes,
yeah,
and it's less rebounds and more like straight in 70s style hockey, and it's not a negative thing at all. It's more entertaining if that's your style of hockey.
One thing about women's hockey is they do not allow checking, like hard checking, open ice checking, that type of thing. You can hit somebody and bring them into the boards, but you bring them into the boards. If you throw them into the boards, you're going to get a penalty. And I think that opens the game up for more speed. And it doesn't really affect the entertainment value of hockey.
I don't know which
women do it.
There was I don't know which league it was in, but there was a women's game that I watched, and a cross check was a major.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's like a across the board thing. I mean, I would watch it a lot more if there were more ways to watch it. Because right now, nobody will carry women's hockey. And I think that's a big problem with the exposure. It's just not available. Like, you have to fight. It's like fighting to watch a KHL game. But, like, I saw a chick barely get cross-checked, and then there's a major on it.
5-minute penalty.
But it's like they expect more of it, and their penalty kill, every team's penalty kill in women's is insanely good.
Yeah.
It's like it seems like special teams is more of a focus. It's less power play focused and more just straight kill focused, and it's really fun to watch.
It is. I've never been bored watching a women's hockey game. They are fantastically entertaining.
I mean, I was bored watching a women's hockey game once, but there was only one chick on the ice. It's Claude Lemieux, Claudia.
Claudia Lemieux. Oh.
Good old 94 playoff games.
Yeah. I was thinking Claudia Lemieux, but anyway, so yeah, the World Junior Championships were canceled yesterday, and I'm convinced that what happened is that there was a positive test on the Canadian team, and there was no way they were going to announce that Canada had to forfeit to like a Germany or Austria because they had a positive test. But the standard that they had was just ridiculous. One positive test. That's what knocked the Czechs out. Was they had one person test
Yeah, I
positive.
mean, God forbid the country that organized it has to follow the rules they set, right?
Yeah. So I mean, they weren't going to make them say that, but that's what happened. It's awful. I wonder if they're going to try and hold this later in the year. I would hope so. Before the draft, maybe later in the spring and summer, maybe as an augment to the Stanley Cup Finals, you have a World Junior Championships going on at the same time.
Yeah, every other night once you get down to the semis, that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean that'd be great because then it's almost like a draft showcase at that point.
Yeah.
And by that time the other European divisions are already done. They're well done. I think the KHL may still be going, but yeah, I mean there should be plenty of time for them to do this. I don't think that they have to cancel this completely. I don't think they have to cancel the World Under 18 for the women completely. I don't think they have it under 20 for women. I think it's just under 18.
I don't know about that one. Like I said, it's so hard to follow. I would know more if.
Yeah, I think the women's tournaments stop at 18 and then they go to senior level championships because the assumption is that the women players will be playing in college at that point. And they don't want to have a competing tournament taking women away from the college teams. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a hard one for the IHF to come back from because they got the black eye from the women's tournament. Now they've got the black eye of this happening. I know the Canadians are pretty pissed that the tournament was canceled. The U.S. was pissed because they've never won this thing twice in a row.
I have not seen a single person that agreed with this decision. Every forum, every Facebook page, the news, all the media outlets that I check every day, nobody has said this was good.
No.
I don't even think that there are tweets coming out from people that work for the IHF. They're like, yeah, this wasn't me. Like, nobody will even claim responsibility for it. If your own organizers will not admit to making a decision, it was probably a really bad decision.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Tom Mann on my Facebook page says, love to join you, but we'll be watching the blood match between the Sabres and the Islanders tonight. Isles led by Kiefer Bellows, Cole Boudreau, Michael Dahl Cole, Austin Charnick, and Robin Salo. Yeah, they get so both the Sabres and the Islanders have been hit pretty good with the COVID virus and are playing a lot of their young players. I'll get to the Sabres after a little while, but thanks for watching, and we'll definitely have to have you on at some point, Tom. And Roy Newsom is watching us as well. He says, "Let's go Red Wings."
Okay. Hey, yeah, no, man. I'm a historical Wings fan. I just hate them today. Whenever I will be up for a new team. We were supposed to discuss this last week. Whenever Arizona gets moved, if I don't like the new logo, I'm jumping ship. Which sounds like a bad reason, but I've been through enough that I'm allowed to do whatever I want now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Let's go other guys.
So we got 3 early games rolling at this point. The Battle of Florida. Florida's leading Tampa 1-0, and that is. Let's take a look at the scoring.
I've got on the Montreal Carolina game, which this morning. I woke up and I checked the lineup for today. I actually am leaving for Raleigh at 7 a.m. tomorrow. I'll be in Raleigh, and I wish I would have thought about it because, like, I checked. I was like, oh, they're playing Raleigh tonight, and then I opened Ticketmaster. I was like, oh man, $120 had a pretty good month, and then I was like, oh wait, I have a dog.
Yeah. You don't have $120. Your dog has $120.
Yeah, we went to the vet today. He had to get his nails trimmed. It was hilarious.
Oh my goodness.
He kept like doing this low whine growl at the chick that was trimming him. It was adorable. I felt so bad for him.
So Panthers up 1-0. The goal is by Anthony Duclair, who's had a really good season, 11 goals already. And the Predators are up on the Blue Jackets. McCarron, his first goal. Michael McCarron got his first goal for the Predators, leading the Blue Jackets 1-0. And then the Hurricanes and Canadians are tied at 0. The aforementioned Sabres-Islanders game gets off at 7:30. And we got some late games. The Flames and Kraken at 10 o'clock. Kings at Canucks at 10:30. And the Flyers and Sharks are at 10:30 as well. So
Arizona has already announced that the Sunday game against the Dallas Stars is postponed.
they can
That was announced today.
Yeah. So COVID is once again wreaking havoc on the NHL season. We're seeing postponements. Of course, we talked about the postponements before the Christmas break. That they first said that, hey, we're not going to do cross-border travel, and the reason why they didn't want to do cross-border travel before the holiday is they didn't want players who got COVID. Say you're on a Canadian team, you're in the United States, you get COVID, and there's a quarantine. You've got a quarantine for 10 days. They don't want you missing the holidays because you're stuck on one side of the border or the other. So they stopped cross-border travel. And then as more teams got decimated by COVID, I think the standard was 7 or more players had to be, or players and staff had to be with COVID before they would postpone games. And we saw more and more teams get hit with it. So, the decision was made, I believe the 22nd. They decided to go ahead and postpone most of the games leading up to and extend the winter break. Hopefully that, players would cycle through the COVID. It really hasn't happened. We're still seeing a ton of players getting added to the COVID-19 list. Coming out of the Olympic or the winter break, they decided with the NHLPA to allow taxi squads once again. So each team is allowed to add a number of players to a taxi squad to be in place in case there is another outbreak and another couple players are taken off of the roster. They don't have to postpone games as much. So, but they also made the decision to postpone a bunch of Canadian games because the Canadian government has limited the amount of capacity that some arenas can have. Like the Canadians completely shut down. They wouldn't allow anybody in the arena. Toronto is down to like 1,000 people in the arena. So they've decided to postpone a lot of Canadian games and hopefully schedule those during the 3-week winter Olympic break that they have built in. Now that they're not going to the Winter Olympics. But yeah, it's almost 2 years now, and we're still dealing with this every once in a while. But I will say that Omicron is very contagious. That's the big thing. But most of the data is showing us that it's not anywhere near as fatal as the other variants. And that kind of jives with a lot of the way viruses go. They tend to become more contagious, but less deadly as they move on. Because generally, when a virus is very deadly, it decimates so much so fast that it kind of burns itself out, and then it has to mutate so it can spread further. And I think we're getting to the point where it's mutating itself to much. It's serious in that we do have a significant number of people who are still unvaccinated, and those people are tending to have the worst reactions to this new variant. Um, but all the NHL players are vaccinated except for one, and he already got
Go Red Wings.
it. Yeah, so he already got Bertuzzi got the COVID sometime in November. So I don't know, man. I think this is when you look at what the reaction between the NHL is and what the NBA and what NFL have done. I think this is kind of an overreaction as far as how they're doing it. And I think it's because
The Canadian government.
Canadian government, and you can make the case that there's the Toronto Raptors in the NBA, but it's
one team out of
one team
what,
versus
like
a quarter.
35 more teams.
Well, I mean, it's one team versus one team of your league versus a quarter of your league.
Yeah,
are north of the border, so you really have to deal with the Canadian government. Yeah, I think
can we just go back to a Northern Division? I feel like that's the best. Postpone all the Canadian games. They're against other Canadian teams. Let us have hockey. It's because it's
the
not.
Northern Division beat each other up again.
Man, one of my buddies in Calgary, they are still where they were at the start of COVID.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, the Canadian government is far harsher on COVID and their protocols and all that stuff than the U.S. government is, and I know that that's part of all of this is that they have to deal with the Canadian government. They have to deal with cross-border travel. Like let's say with the Toronto Raptors, if you have an issue where the Canadian government shuts it down, easy peasy. You just move Toronto to, Buffalo.
Right.
It's
it's crazy to me that there are now children that can speak and walk that have never been in public.
Yeah.
Ever.
Oh, and I hate to get political about this, but you're starting to see it in schools where kids were out for a year and a half without socialization, and the impact that it's had on them, that they just don't know how to act in a school.
Dude, I didn't know how to act in a school after spring break.
I know.
I would come back after 1 week and I was like,
wow, I was a
people,
feral child.
This is disgusting. That kid just blew a snot bubble. I don't want to be here. And, the scariest part to me is, there's so many people that aren't going out. They will have no immune system whatsoever whenever things finally do lift. And I wonder how much contribution you're going to have from that. There's no exposure to anything, especially fresh air. Canada's just turned into a apocalyptic bomb shelter.
Yeah.
Every house has got its windows locked, and I don't know, man. It's a scary thought. I feel really bad for
it is scary
humanity right now.
Well, and I get that people are worried with Omicron because it is so, and it's catching a lot. Some of the people that were very careful when it came to COVID, and the Delta or whatever the other variants were. This one is just, it really is. It's just much more widespread. I've got far more friends I know now have COVID than at any point during the entire pandemic, and it's not serious, issues that they're having, but it's widespread enough that it's worrying people, and even if it affects the same number, it puts the same number of people in the hospital because it's so much more widespread, that it causes the healthcare system to kind of get worried. And I get that.
Yeah, really 100 mildly sick people are just as bad as 10 very sick people.
Yeah.
As far as care for people goes,
Yeah, well, Delta got a few people very sick, but this one gets a lot of people sick and probably about the same number of people very sick that were just they have the same issues that would lead to a longer term sickness.
I have a buddy that's in the hospital right now. I'm a tarantula guy. I have close to 30 spiders in my store on purpose. Crazy, right? And
I will never go there.
the owner of my tarantula store is on the vent right now.
Oh no!
And I've been taking care of their store stock for him. So I'm watching 2 businesses right now. Well, 3 actually, but and the weirdest part of him is he's fine, but whenever he was taken to the hospital, it was back around Christmas, and he's so in his head that he's gonna die. He's making himself so much worse. Like, I mean, they're having to sedate the dude because he was so anxious. They were scared he's going to give himself a heart attack.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. And it sucks for, everybody who's involved in these franchises. I mean, it's not just the multi-million-dollar athletes that are getting impacted. It's the popcorn salesman. It's the, the kid behind the counter, the people that make merchandise, the Zamboni. Who scored?
Carolina.
All right. Who scored from Carolina?
I think it was Svetch to Slavin.
Nice.
Maybe. Nope. Maybe not. Let's see. Niederreiter got the rebound. Or Niedermeyer. Niederreiter.
Niedermeyer dead. Niederreiter got his 9th of the season. It's tied up between the Predators and Blue Jackets.
I bet that's a good game.
Jenner got the Boone Jenner got the tying goal. Still 1-0 between the Panthers and Lightning. I'm ready. I think everyone is ready to be done with COVID, and I think the players are really starting to buck what's going on in the NHL. You saw Brad Marchand make comments about the, cancellation of the Olympics. Honestly, that was probably the best move that they could have made. I know that there was no good that could come from, sending all of the best players in the NHL to, halfway across the world to play in China overnight, that, we would be staying up to 3-4 o'clock in the morning to watch hockey games, which I'm not opposed to, but still not the best use of your players.
They signed a contract. A lot of them within the COVID period have re-upped on their contract, but it's always been the same. And I get it that they wanted to play in the NHL or they wanted to play in the Olympics, but they also made a decision to sign up for a league that has rules and sign contracts that include rules. So I think there's really something that should be said for that. And, I do feel bad for some of these guys that were so looking forward to the Olympics, but at the same time, like you have a primary obligation to stick with the company that employs you.
Exactly.
And if you want to just be an Olympic player, then I guess that's a possibility. You can just play every 4 years, but that's not really how it works.
People say that these guys are like slaves, and it's like, no. I mean, Brad Marchand, if he really wants to go play in the Olympics, it's a simple solution. He can retire and go play for Canada all he wants to. They're still playing hockey at the Olympics. It's going to be guys out of contracts. It's going to be guys that are, have retired from the NHL, guys playing in Europe, college age players. That's who's going to be playing the Olympics. Brad Marchand wants to go.
We will not miss you, Brad.
Yeah, we will sign those papers for you.
We'll even hang a banner.
Yeah.
But in Nashville, not in Boston.
All right.
Brad Marchand played here.
Let's see. We've returned to taxi squads. So each team I think have 3 players on the taxi squad. I know Buffalo called up 3 players to put on there. It's Oskari Laxonen. Can't remember the other 2, but it's cool. You're probably going to see a ton of players make their NHL debuts, and I'm trying to find the Sabres games. Get me distracted.
I was wondering what you're doing.
Has it appeared yet? No. Okay. All right. Yeah. So you're going to see a ton of players make their debuts as this stuff goes through. One of the things that the NHL has done is change the protocol when it comes to COVID. So if you get a positive test, it was the rule that you had 10 days before you could come off of quarantine. You had to quarantine for 10 days. That has been reduced to 5 days. So you should see, guys that test positive who are asymptomatic are able to move out. Now they have to test negative to be able to move out on that 5th day, but still, and then if guys do have symptoms like fever, they have to wait until after the fever is done with before they can test to get back into the
Now,
game.
is that the same for Canadian teams, or is there some kind of like governmental ordinance that prevents them from? It's clear across. Okay, I
Yeah,
wasn't sure.
across the board.
You read the article. I skimmed.
There we go. Finally found that Buffalo game. But yeah, it makes sense. It's what the other leagues are doing. Like the NFL, they're not even testing players unless they are symptomatic. That is one of the other complaints that we've heard from guys like Connor Hellebuck is that the NHL protocols are far too stringent. Like everyone testing every day, rapid tests every day. Whereas the NFL is, we're not going to test you if you're vaccinated, we're not going to test you until you show some symptoms. And then we'll keep you off. Time will tell whether that's a good policy or not. Again, these are pretty, these are healthy young guys. I don't expect too many issues. I mean, there have been a couple of reports of a couple NFL players who have gone to the hospital, but really for lesser. It's not like they're getting put on a vent or anything. They're getting like the little drug cocktail that give people to reduce some of the symptoms. So,
is it ivermectin?
Yeah, they're shooting him in the ass with horse medicine.
Check it. You said drug cocktail. My mind immediately went to Joe Rogan. So.
I'm so sorry. So I'm so sad or sick of every time I go on social media, I'm bombarded with Joe Rogan supplement ads.
Like, so you did go to the website.
Do I look like I'm a meathead? Do I look like I want to, I'm pumping iron or anything like that? No.
Oh, Dave, I would pick a fight with you.
You beat the hell out of me, man.
Dude, your glasses, you look like you carry a Kel-Tec on your ankle.
I carry fat on my ankle.
Was that an insult? I don't even know if that was an insult.
Oh, it looks like your boys scored again.
Tomasino?
No, your boys.
Oh.
It's like we got a.
Hey, yeah, they did. There it is. There it is. There it is. It just showed up over here. You said my boy, and I was like,
no. Did he get the McCarron? Oh, he got an assist on the goal by Michael McCarron, and got the secondary assist with Matt Luff.
Hey, take it. Points, baby.
There you go.
Bump
That's
it.
All right. So the Winter Classic is Saturday. Yes, Saturday, which is New Year's Day.
And I will be
in North Carolina,
far away from a TV.
Oh, that sucks. You know what the sad thing about this one though is that I don't feel like it's been hyped enough. Like the other ones had a little more. I don't know that it's been as big of a focus as prior Winter Classes, which is sad because it is kind of like in a showcase place as far as hockey, the sport is, and especially in the United States. So Minnesota, I mean, yeah, Target Field is not a historic ballpark or anything like that.
No, but it's
the fact that it's in Minnesota.
What was your favorite Winter Classic moment?
Out
of all the Winter Classics, what was the number one moment for Dave Valente?
I mean, it's got to be the first one. I mean, it was so entertaining to watch. Even though they lost the game, it was them, Pittsburgh and Buffalo, skating around in almost snow globe conditions. It really was kind of everything you hoped for when it came to a hockey game. Um, went to a shootout. Of course, Sidney Crosby crushed our soul again. And but as far as games go, that was a very entertaining game. And I think the second would be when Washington played Chicago. That was a very entertaining game. Score, the game winning goal was scored with like 20 seconds left in the game for Washington. That was a really good game. I was in a bar in Washington because nobody wanted to spend $175 to not see any of the game, which was like some of those lower tier seats at the Nationals ballpark. You couldn't see anything. You were paying like 175 to sit there and not watch the game.
Cheer on everybody else did.
Yeah, pretty much. I was getting drunk at a bar, so I mean I was drinking far cheaper beers, so that's the way to do it. What about you? What is your favorite?
I don't know, man. I feel like it was actually Nashville, Dallas.
That was a good game.
It was a good game, and I had $100 on the correct score that was the proper outcome of that game.
Right.
So I made $2,000 off that game. I was sitting in Buffalo Wild Wings watching it, and the guy next to me was wearing a Predators hat, and I was like, how did you get here? And he was like, yeah, just passing through, man. I didn't mean to. I was like, oh, that's cool. And he's like, yeah, no, we're totally going to take this one. Yeah, man.
That was a good game. They've generally been fairly entertaining games. I think there was one where it was like Chicago and Detroit that was kind of a blowout. But when it comes down to
that Chicago Detroit game was awful.
Yeah, because it was like 6-0 after 2 or 6-1 after.
Didn't Patrick Kane get a hat trick in that game?
No, it was Detroit that was laying.
Or Detroit, yeah.
Detroit was laying the beat down on that one.
There was a Winter Classic that Kane got a hat trick in, I think.
Yeah, but as many times as Chicago's been in an outdoor game, they really kind of suck at it. So I'm glad that they've kind of fallen off the wayside, so they stopped putting them in so many of the Winter Classic games, or at least outdoor games. Looks like we're underway in Buffalo. Well, actually, the Islanders, the new barn for the Islanders. It's Subban. Malcolm Subban is in net for the Sabres tonight.
I'm watching the same Post Malone commercial I've seen 47 times. Posty's Jaeger. And I really miss an NHL TV. I know it was a lot more expensive, but at least whenever I watched the same ad over and over, it didn't, like the game itself didn't look like a VCR recording of a 95 playoff game. The quality of ESPN is so bad. All these Bally Sports games, like this one's TSN, and 5 minutes of the game has been cleared. Maybe. It's just everything else is just so granulated. You can't tell where the puck is. You just know which direction the players are skating.
Of course, that might also be your cable.
Nah, it's crazy good internet. I have no issues with anything else. I can run 2 Fire Sticks, a laptop, an Xbox, and everybody's phones at the same time, and nobody has a single issue. I cut this on, and it just goes straight to crap. So
that's interesting.
Yeah,
I've got pretty good video quality on mine. I've never really had much of an issue with the video quality. I do have an issue with the repetitive ads.
That's always been NHL streaming, though. Any time that I've ever seen an NHL game streamed, I've seen the same ad every ad break.
Yeah,
every
I don't know if you get it. I don't know if you get it, but the West Virginia lottery ads.
Yeah,
they had one that had like a dog barking that annoyed the shit out of me for about 3 months.
So whenever I was in college, they had a West Virginia lottery ad, and we would plug a computer into the TV in the lobby. We had like a sitting area in the lobby. Yeah. We had all these guys from Baltimore and DC, and me and Ethan were the only two white guys in the room. And they had no clue what was going on, but they loved it. They ate it up, man. They thought it was the coolest thing they'd ever seen. But everybody would be hammered out of their mind by the third period. And a West Virginia lottery ad would come on. You know the West Virginia lottery song?
No, I don't know the song. I know
They used to have this jingle. They had this awful jingle that was on all their ads at the end. And every time that ad came on, campus security would come to the men's dorm to tell us to shut up because people were trying to sleep. We would scream it at the top of our lungs. It's one of those weird memories that it doesn't make sense why you're so attached to it, but it's like one of the few that you have to have.
Well, the ad that they have now that we saw like 400 times last night was this. It's a scratcher ad, and they're all playing like 80s records, turntables, scratching, and it is annoying as shit. I hate it. I hate it so badly. But I know I'm going to watch it like 400 times because I'm going to watch every time I watch a Sabres game on ESPN. It's going to be on that.
They're getting their money's worth. They paid for the
They're
ad.
not getting money from me.
They're going to get the ad, man.
Well, they're going to get the ad, but they're not going to get money from me.
Oh, yeah. Okay, don't you want to play the lottery now? Doesn't that just kind of make you want to just scratch it a little? Doesn't make you a little itchy?
Set their building on fire. I'm sure going to get visited by the police for that one. No, it's annoying. But I do like having all access to all these NHL games and not paying $175 a year. And really, it's the same service that we got last year. It used to be that you would get a direct feed, but now it's all internet streaming. So, when it went to internet streaming for NHL Center Ice, I was like, there's no reason. Once they announced it was going to be ESPN Plus, I was like, well, there's no reason to get the Center Ice package.
They don't even offer it anymore, do
they? They do. In fact, it's a free Center Ice this week, but at least on Xfinity. So, but yeah, so Winter Classic is coming. It is possibly going to be the coldest game ever played outdoors in the NHL. A high of -1 on New Year's Day in Minneapolis, and a low of
-18.
-18.
-18. They will not have to worry about the ice this year.
Although you might have to worry about the glass because at that temperature, the glass can shatter if it's hit by a puck. So, there could be delays. You remember last year with the Tahoe Classic where they had to delay because even though it was cold enough for ice, when the sun hit those logos on the ice, it started melting in puddles there. So they had to delay it until after the sun went down.
I think that they're still doing the digital ads, though, right? So maybe this year it'll.
Well, they've been doing digital ads on local broadcasts. I know that because MSG's ads for Buffalo games tend to kind of freak out every once in a while, and they just kind of jump up and down the screen. They're not really proficient at it yet, but it makes much more sense to have those digital ads. One, you can rotate more ads and sell more ads. Two, you don't have the issues like they have with the outdoor game in Tahoe. But yeah, there is another thing that I'm very excited about with the Winter Classic is that they're going to feature the all-hair team from the Minnesota high school playoffs. Like they're because they got like a couple of auxiliary rinks set up in the outfield of Target Field. So during the game, they'll have different things. Like at one point, they're going to have an all LGBTQ game going on. They're going to have the all hair team playing. They're going to have the Minnesota Golden Gophers playing. So it's really cool. They're going to have like featured activities on the other rinks, even while the Winter Classic is going. So I'm excited about seeing that. But the all hair team, and if you've never ever seen the all hair team for Minnesota State playoffs,
it's an SNL skit that is not an SNL skit.
It's not an SNL skit, but it should be.
It should be. It would be a fantastic one. And it looks like an SNL skit. Yeah. It's just so outrageous and so unrealistic that all these guys have this hair.
Well, what happens is at the state playoff time, they do the player introductions and they record them. They pre-record them, so the players will skate onto the ice and do the stop, and then they'll say their name, or they'll just the name will display at the bottom of the screen. But some players in all these teams have just this ridiculous flow. Like the mullet never died there. And a couple guys have the Ogie Oglethorpe thing going. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and I'm so excited to see the all hair team. It's something that definitely needs much more exposure than it's getting, because that is some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Key and Peele NFL introductions.
Yes.
Max Jenkins, Rikers Island. Yeah.
George Washingbeard. No, that's great. So let's talk about. Let me see if I can find the screen again. All right. So one thing that you wanted to talk about, and one of your favorite subjects when it comes to hockey, we can never get to our screen again.
Historic hockey
and goalie masks.
What is the number one way to display your personality? It's a goalie mask. Everybody needs one. Yeah, so this week we decided to talk about historic masks throughout the years. And something really interesting that a lot of people don't realize, the first goalie mask that was ever worn was worn by Jacques Plante, right?
In a game, yes. This is a prototype that
is wrong.
Oh.
Yeah, so the first time that an ice hockey goalie ever wore a mask that anybody has any record of actually was a long time before Jacques Plante. It was a women's league player from Queen's University in 1927. Her name was Elizabeth Graham, and she actually wore the first mask.
I mean, it makes
hockey
sense.
ever had.
Makes sense. They have much more intelligence than we do. So
yeah. And there's actually a picture of her in her mask, and she's in her school uniform with a leather mask on, and it just looks like a horror movie. It's glorious.
Yeah. So the main characteristic of hockey masks, probably up until about the early 90s, is that they were pretty much nightmare Jews.
Yeah, that was the point. And a fun fact for you. Now, Jerry Cheevers, I'll talk about his mask in a minute, but the first painted mask ever that we have on record, and definitely the first one in the NHL, was actually painted as a prank on Doug Favell, who was playing for the Montreal Canadiens in 1970. I don't even think it's on this list. I just know this. The mask is up for sale right now. The original mask, Andy Chung over at Hockey Mask Collectors in British Columbia has it. It's up for sale for $50,000. And on Halloween night in 1970, the equipment manager for the Montreal Canadiens, as a prank, painted Doug Favell's mask orange to match, or not the Canadiens, I'm sorry. He was actually playing for Philadelphia at the time. But to match the Philly uniform, they painted it orange. And this mask was lost for years. And then they found it, and they put it on display in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Well, a few years later, there was this guy that was obsessed with hockey masks. He goes and looks at it and immediately says, that's not it. So he points out to them why that mask is wrong. And it turns out the mask next to it was painted with, they called it the clown mask. It was another one of Doug's masks.
Yeah.
And it had been painted with stripes on it. Well, he had lost the original mask for a little while, and they had given him a new mask that had these stripes painted on it. The mask that they had on display as being his original mask was not. Instead, the mask that had been repainted with the stripes next to it was his original mask. Go figure.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So the top little piece of nightmare juice is Clint Benedict. He was a Montreal Maroons goalie in the 29-30 season, had a broken nose, and they allowed him to wear that on his face as just leather to protect a broken nose. I don't think that would have protected much if he got
He didn't keep it very long.
now the and the reason why it did, mask didn't catch on as quickly is hockey back then. You didn't have a whole lot of guys doing slap shots.
No, it wasn't until Boom Boom came around in
Yeah, it wasn't
52.
until the mid '50s, late '50s that the innovation of the slap shot, the curve on the blade of the stick was being innovated, and players were able to shoot a puck much faster. I mean, yeah, if a guy comes in and does a little wrister and catches you in the face, it's not going to feel great, but it's not going to devastate you like catching a 70, 80 mile an hour slapper to the mouth.
Yeah,
Uh,
and also at that time, pucks were made out of stacked rubber instead
yes,
of one solid piece, and they weighed a lot more. I actually have some pucks from all the way back in the teens. I
yeah,
have in my collection probably 1,000 pucks.
yeah. You couldn't
And
get it off the ice as easily.
well, not only that, if you did get it off the ice, it doesn't really matter how fast it's moving. Whenever you have 8 ounces hitting you in the face as opposed to like 5.5 or 6,
Yeah.
that's a big difference at 20 miles an hour.
Yeah, so as the game innovates and you got guys like Bernie Boom Boom Jeffrey on, clapping slappers from the point. Goalies were starting to take a lot more abuse. And this is back in the day when you didn't have as many players. Looks like we got somebody from Russia sending us a message. Okay, interesting. Anyway, so as we get into the '60s, Jacques Plante, uh, legendary goaltender for the Canadians, took a slapper to the face. And you don't have back then. You don't have the backups like we do now. Generally, you had a team goaltender, and you'd have a house goaltender. Kind of analogous would be the e-bug that we have now. Um, that would come in and play for either team if the goaltender was injured. Um, And so Jacques Plante got injured in a game. He skates off the ice and was out for a period. The house goalie comes in and plays for a little bit. And in between the periods, Jacques Plante says, "I'm going to wear the mask." Had been practicing with a mask, hadn't put it on in a game, decides to put it on. It's great controversy, but really, at that point, the game kind of called for innovation as far as the goaltenders go, because if the hockey players are getting better at shooting the puck and raising the puck and um, you know being that kind of a threat to a goaltender's face, then it makes sense that you protect them. Every other sport where you had major face contact, they started putting cages and things like that in front of their face. So talk about football, face masks protected the nose and facial area of players. um, I'm glad to see I was glad to see the innovation, and it's cool to watch the innovation take flight as they design the mask. And I
Oh,
thought
yeah.
it becomes the extension of the not only the player but the organization, because a lot of these masks now are much more organizational specific.
Well, and
There's a couple of players that have more specific to their personalities, but
it's the coolest mask of all time, indisputably, is Jerry Cheever's.
yeah, and it's this one
Nobody
right here at
can.
the top here.
Yeah. So the story behind Jerry Cheever's mask. Obviously, everybody knows the stitches, and some people know that the stitches came from every time that he would get hit, he would have his trainer paint the stripes, the stitches on it. And that's where they got the name Stitches. The interesting story behind this mask, he had taken a really hard shot to the face, and he went back into the locker room. And they had this mask for whenever guys would, need it if they'd get a nose broken or something. It was made by a local boat manufacturer around Boston. It was completely fiberglass.
Yep.
And Jerry was really well known for being the laziest guy on the team, like by a long shot. So the coach walks back in the locker room, and Jerry's sitting there drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette. And he tells him to get back on the ice, and he says, okay, but he's wearing the mask. And they fought about it for a while, and finally he let him, and he stopped shots just as well as, he would have without the mask. So then he says, I'm not playing in a game unless I can wear the mask. And that's how Stitches came about. And Cheever's actually ended up being one of the most important people in the organization of the Player Safety Association because he was so for the masks for goalies and the importance of the mask.
Yeah. Couple score updates. Panthers up 3-1 on the Lightning. Bogosian score for the Lightning, Duclair, Huberdeau, and Vetrano for the Panthers. Your Canes are up 2-0 over the Canadians, Niederreiter and Teravainen. 1-1 in Columbus. Predators and Blue Jackets, McCarron and Jenner have scored. And just came through, the Matthew Barzal scored for the Islanders, and it's 1-0.
And Tom is really excited about it. Good for you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Oh, also, just to go back to it, I just saw your comment. I actually was going to say the Corey Perry ejection from the Winter Classic game.
Yeah.
And
it was
I kind of felt bad for being like, yeah, that time that guy got kicked out of the game. But I do agree with you, dude. I think that was one of the greatest Winter Classic moments.
Yeah, that was a good one. Let's see.
Oh, also, this mask, this super stupidly famous mask, is completely unaccounted for. Nobody knows where it is.
Oh,
so
really?
If you find it at a yard sale, do not contact the Hockey Hall of Fame. Bring it to me for me to verify, and I will give you your money back on it as long as it is under $100.
Yeah. Let's take a look at some other nightmare fuel. This was
the skull.
Barry Bromley's mask.
Yeah.
That would be intimidating to come skating in on,
Yeah, imagine walking down an alley and seeing that guy. There's just something about those original fiberglass masks that makes them so much more intimidating.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And then you have the original cat.
Will Grattan. Yeah.
Yeah. Grattan's mask was definitely cooler than Felix. Felix actually brought back the cat mask. Of course, Felix Potvin for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And a lot of people, including myself, whenever they see this picture, they would think that it was Felix, but it was actually Grafton. Grafton did it first.
Yep. This one's kind of scary, too. This is Gilles Meloche, who appears on this list quite a few times. One of the goalies for the Cleveland Barons short-lived franchise that eventually merged with the Minnesota North Stars, which eventually became the Dallas Stars. But the crest of the Barons on the mask, that's pretty intimidating as well.
Yeah, and he actually painted all of his masks himself.
Yeah.
Fun fact. I know way too much about this.
So Eddie the Eagles, Stefan Valaket. This one had the
It's Tarek.
Yeah. This one. This is Gary Simmons. He played for the California Golden Seals. He had the Cobra.
That's not even his coolest mask. Actually, if you ever get the chance to see it, he had one that he painted whiskers on and made it look like a seal face, and it's like a cartoon seal, and it just really screams like 70s decoupage.
Ken Dryden's
Bullseye.
Yeah, it's the Bullseye Mask. Now, that guy was just a stud. I mean, the years he was in the league, and just a stone wall.
Yeah, Dave Dryden actually had a very similar mask.
And that was the thing about Ken Dryden, is he retired extraordinarily young. I mean, the Canadians won 4 straight Stanley Cup championships. He decides to retire. People forget that he was the color analyst on the 1980 Miracle on Ice
Yeah.
game with Al Michaels.
Yeah, and his brother was a goalie in the World Hockey Association. So
yeah, he was actually first time brother goalies played against each other was Buffalo versus Montreal. Dave Dryden played for Buffalo for a little while before he moved to the WHA, and they got him into a game. I think it was later in the game. It wasn't like they started against each other, but Dave skated out and of course Ken won. I mean, it was the early '70s Montreal Canadiens. So,
well, Ken was just one of the best goalies of all time, and I think it's because he retired so young. He held his records, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
he never watered down his stats. It was just he knew when to stop.
Yep. Yeah. Let's see what else is on this list. Oh,
there's Marty Turco's playoff mask. Yeah, the old Capital Stars and Stripes.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a rebel flag.
Yeah, that was before that mask would get you booed off the ice as soon as you skate out.
I don't think that people would have gotten away with that mask, even though it's a star of stars. It looks way too close to the rebel flag.
It's too many stripes with too many angles.
Yeah. Marty Turco's Dead Dragons. That's pretty.
He's a really cool guy. I've met him, and I didn't even know it was him. He's like 6'6", and I just thought that he was a really cool, really tall person.
And there's the original. I mean, that's another Nightmare Juice one right there. Yeah, somebody comes up wearing that mask, and you're not having a good day.
Any of the fiberglass masks, there's not one that's not intimidating. Now, the one that I wonder about that didn't make this list, the coolest mask to me that's missing is the Bernie Paront flame mask from whenever he was playing for the Philadelphia Blazers.
The Philadelphia Blazers were around so little.
Well, yeah, man, but have you seen the mask?
Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, dude, it's sick. So Bernie Paront actually was drafted by the Miami Eagles. His professional draft was to the Miami Eagles. The Screaming Eagles were around for 4 months, I think. And then they just disappeared because they couldn't figure out how to keep ice in Miami. They were a WHA team, and I actually have one of his draft day signed pucks from the Miami Screaming Eagles.
Let's see.
Yeah, look at that.
That's
sick. That's cooler than Marty Turco's Dragons. Come on.
Yeah, that's much cooler. Although I think that was probably an NHL list, is why I didn't make the cut. But still, that's a pretty stout mask. I would have not liked to skate down.
I mean, even his 1974 mask from the 74 Stanley Cup playoffs, it's cooler than most of the masks on that list.
Yeah.
Some love for Bernie.
Oh, that damn West Virginia ad's on again. Killing me. All right.
You'd hate to know what happened whenever a Farmers Only ad came on.
You don't have to sleep with sheep only at
FarmersOnly.com.
All right. Let's see. So news and transactions. We're not going to do Hat Not this week because we really just have not had enough games to really get into that over the last 2 weeks. But
hot teams that are playing, not teams that aren't.
Exactly. So last night was debut night for a host of Buffalo Sabres. Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs, both acquired in the Jack Eichel trade. Both made their debut last night. Krebs basically because of the whole COVID situation with the Sabres. They've been really reticent about bringing up these guys, but they brought up him and JJ Peterka. They could have brought up Jack Quinn, but he's coming off of a brief injury, so they left him down in Rochester. Also making his debut was Ethan Prow. Alex Tuck and Prow did the score sheet. Prow got a goal late to make that game interesting, and Tuck started the scoring for the Sabres with an assist on Tage Thompson's first goal. So good debuts. It's hard to be mad at the team and that having 5 of their top players out of the lineup and integrating so many new players at the same time. They did have times of rust, so I'm not too surprised that they had issues. But it's good to see Alex Tuck on the ice. It's still 1-0 as we cycle down towards the end of the first period. Peyton Krebs looked good. JJ Peterka, man, that guy's got some speed. I think he's going to settle into the NHL pretty nicely. He was a second round pick, not last year's draft, but the year before. I liked what I saw from him. Ethan Prow, had a goal, and he's bounced around a few organizations. So I'm wondering what we got with him. I'm assuming that he'll probably end up on the taxi squad at some point as we get some of the COVID players back.
Yeah, Tom, I'm a big Tuck fan too. I actually really like him.
Yeah, Tuck is he's got some size to him. He's got some grit to him. I'm really excited to see how he plays with the Sabres. What he brings to the locker room, I think is going to be the biggest thing. Patrick Laine returns after missing 19 games with an oblique injury. So I guess he's playing tonight.
Every time that I hear the name Laine, I just miss John Tortorella that much more. Is that bad?
Yeah.
Torts is my favorite coach. Just there were no scandals with Torts. He would tell you in the post-game interview what happened.
Yeah.
Immediately, every time.
No, there was no pussyfooting around when it came to Torts. He would tell like it is. Roasting an official or roasting a journalist. It was pretty much fair game with Torts.
Yeah, it's funny to me too because you had the personality of Torts, and now you have Brindamore who occasionally yells at a linesman or something.
Yeah, and
they come down hard on him.
Yeah,
Brindy gets hit hard. Torts was doing that 17 times a game, dude. Stop. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean,
Torts would have to cover his face with a clipboard whenever he'd yell at the refs so they couldn't go back and watch a replay to see what he's saying.
See, that's smart. That's probably what Brindy needs to start doing. He needs to wear his face mask on the bench so he can just tear it.
Brindy can't do it because he'd throw the clipboard at the...
Yeah. Owner of the best photo in the NHL, Chris Tanev, is injured for the rest of the season, a knee injury, so he's out for the Seattle Kraken, which is sad because I loved seeing his, whenever he did something, they would flash up his picture and he looked like a psycho serial killer. It was really cool.
Yeah, he looked like he's asked me for money at a stoplight in East Beckley.
Dean Evison, head coach of the Minnesota Wild, has signed a contract extension. I didn't see any details on the story of how long that extension is going to be for, but, he took over for Bruce Boudreau in the middle of the 2020 season before the pause. And, he's done well. He's definitely benefited. Oh, Buffalo just scored.
Yeah, they should have scored on the power play. Tom said that Tuck actually was able to draw a penalty on the aisle. So
yeah, Kyle Poso. I'm looking at the replay. Yep, bounced off. It looked like Murray got the. It's going to be a Poso from Murray and I believe Victor Olofsson on the power play. So. Yay! All right, we're not going to get shut out. Excellent. I can't remember which button it is. Is it this one? No, that's the wrong one. There we go. Gotta love Jim. Speaking of West Virginia.
Is that the guidelines?
Yeah,
Sound
fucking
clip?
follow the guidelines, baby. All right, and last bit of news: Evgeny Malkin looks like he's about 10 days away from returning to the Penguins lineup,
Boo.
which haven't missed a beat, man. Seven games in a row for the Penguins on their win streak. So
Binging.
yeah, but sometimes when big time players come back into the lineup, the team kind of takes a little bit of a dive. I don't know why. It's just
Well, they did. Crosby came back. They lost too.
Yeah, they lost
And
like
then they came back.
in a row, and then they just went off. I mean, yeah. So looks like the end of one, and it's 1-1 Buffalo, and the Islanders are tied. Let's see some other scores. 2-1. Blue Jackets are leading the Predators. Boone Jenner, Patrick Laine, in his return, gets a goal. I'm sure John Tortorella will be pleased. McCarron scores his first of the season for the Predators. 2-0 Hurricanes over the Canadians, and Panthers still up 3-1 over the Lightning. Everything else is later tonight at 10 o'clock. So me not having to work tomorrow, I get to watch games late into the night. All right, sir.
I'll
You got
be
anything
on
else
the
you wanna?
road
Yeah, you're gonna be on the road, man.
tomorrow night. I'll be around. Next week, I will be here for the podcast. I'll be in West Virginia.
All right.
The week following, I will be working in Florida.
No rider.
Yeah, so that's going on. And then I think the week after, I was looking at heading to either Louisiana or Tennessee.
Nice.
So back doing that road game.
Sounds good, man.
Also, exciting news, which I don't think I told you yet. Next season, I will not be here. I will be in Wisconsin. I got accepted to University of Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah.
Congratulations, brother.
Yep. I'll be taking part in their wild game processing program for an artisanal butchering degree, which
Cool.
is a fancy way to say I'm going to keep doing that thing I've been doing for a long time.
Yeah.
Just working my way towards getting a seasonal job in Alaska, working about 3 months out of the year. So
Nice. That's excellent, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll have to do like a road trip and broadcast from hopefully the new home of the formerly Arizona Coyotes.
You know how cool it would be if I'll be in Madison. So I'll be about 4 hours away from Milwaukee.
Yeah.
But if Arizona moves to Wisconsin, I'm going to be in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So
sure beats, them being in Arizona and you being in West Virginia.
Yeah. But
a hell of a lot closer.
Yeah. So hopefully, that happens. I mean, that ideally for me, that's like the perfect scenario is they go to Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. It's a beautiful city. It's impossible to navigate. You'll find so many things you didn't know existed there. My first trip to Milwaukee, I parked at the top of a parking garage, walked into the elevator, which you had to get to through a lawyer's office, and then came out the bottom in front of a burger joint, which was connected to a clinic, and you had to walk through both of them to get out. So I don't really know where they put a team, probably in a bathroom, but
well, I mean, they've got the arena for the. I don't know if it's hockey configurable because
for the Bucks.
Yeah, the Bucks have their arena. They don't play hockey games there currently. The Admirals play. I want to say they play on the campus of the University of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yes.
And
they're in Milwaukee.
Oh, Milwaukee, yeah. So, they would have to either retrofit the arena for the Bucks to accommodate hockey, or they'd have to get a brand new arena.
Yeah, I mean, even if they put in Waukesha and be an hour away, that's not really that different from Arizona playing in Tempe and being.
They could do what they did with. They could do what they did with the Hurricanes. The first 3 seasons they played in Greensboro
Yeah,
at the Greensboro Coliseum, because I grew up in Greensboro. I was gone long before they moved
I will actually be at the Greensboro Botanical Garden that Mr.
Nice.
Tanger built tomorrow.
All right, nice. Yeah, I haven't been. I mean, I've driven through Greensboro, but I haven't been back to Greensboro since '87.
I know Greensboro pretty well.
I like the area. Um,
It's
they have
very
my favorite
busy.
soda, Sundrop. So my that's my addiction. But yeah, I'll have to go. I need to go down to North Carolina soon, get a new supply of Sundrop. It's like Smokey the Bandit, only going north and south.
You in eastbound and down?
No, southbound and down. Well, it's actually back northbound.
East? No, it's eastbound.
It was eastbound and down, sort of east.
Is
kind
it
of.
for you? Would it be east still?
No, it's pretty much straight south. I
Is it
mean, I go
straight
south
south?
on 81, south on 81, take 77 in. So it's a little bit east, but not
Yeah,
too
well, you hit 77 here
Yeah, 77 comes out. Yeah,
in
so
Beckley.
yeah, so
Or well, no, you probably go
I catch it.
you go down 81 to Staunton, Virginia, and then cut back over towards Lewisburg through Beckley, and then go down through Princeton if you're taking 77.
Actually, it marries up with 77.
Around Winston-Salem.
No, it's in Virginia still. It's south of Roanoke. I mean, once you get onto 77, there's only like 40 miles left in Virginia.
Covington, Virginia. That area.
Yeah, something like
Right
that.
at the bottom. Anyway,
Yeah.
fun times and
Yeah.
interstate travel.
But anyway,
Thanks, Eisenhower.
why is it 77? Why is it 80?
Eisenhower, that is the official president of Thursday Night Hockey show for the week.
There you go.
Tune in next week to hear our next president. It will not be Gary Bettman. Just a heads up.
No, not Gary Bettman. Anyway, thanks everyone for joining us this week. I've been advertising on Facebook, so we had a few more people drop in this week, and I'm happy to see it. And join us again next week as we talk another week of pucks. So hopefully a lot more games next week, a lot less cancellations.
Yeah.
But another week of NHL hockey on the Thursday Night Hockey Show. Good night, everyone. Auf Wiedersehen.